very much for the very kind introduction. And thank you everyone that is tuning in to see and listen to our talk. And as we've already been introduced, we're going to be talking about a exciting new project that came out of our experiences from running a lot of mentored sprints. My name is Tania Allard, and I am a senior developer advocate at Microsoft, and I focus on all things data, like machine learning, data science, scientific computing, and open source. I also wear a lot of many other hats. I'm a Pine Ladies organizer, an editor for JAWS, and trustee at the UK RSE, or Research Software Engineering Association, Python Association, and yeah, I do like quite a lot of things here and there.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Cheuk. So I'm a developer relations lead in Terminus DB. So we are open source graph database that is, open source. And also I love, supporting the community by organizing conference. I'm involved in EuroPython, the organization which is happening this month. And also we'll have like PyData Global, which is happening in November. I was a data scientist, but now I mainly stream on Twitch. So yeah, my Twitch account is the same as my Twitter handle, so you can find me there. So I think, yeah, first of all, we want to say that we love sprints. So Tania has been organizing this mentor sprints since last year in PyCon US. And so why we love sprints? We love bringing the community together, because sprints is a good way that bring people together to work on open source projects. We also love to have more like contributions. We want to encourage people to do that, especially for people who are kind of in the minority group of the community. We want to empower them. We want to give the power to the user. They can contribute to the tools that they're using. And also we welcome the diversity in leadership. We want them to be, taking the leadership in leading the project eventually. So we celebrate inclusivity and also inclusiveness, and that's why we love the sprints. So awesome. We are planning to do that this year. Coronavirus hit, and it's out of our expectation. So, okay, well, let's do it online then. Why not? So nothing could possibly go wrong. Actually, there are a few things that we have to be careful about, because first of all, people are not traveling to meet at the same city. We will be across different time zones, and also we'll be like, kind of how to maintain the interpersonal, interactions that we used to have, and also how can we support the participant by offering them, mentorship. Also for organizer, how can we support the mentors? And how to keep people engaged, because they will be doing it at home. There will be lots of distractions. And how to maintain a safe space for everybody as well. How to enforce the code of conduct. And again, because this is online, so everything relies on the tool, that whether they have good connection, whether their tool is working as expected. There are lots of things that could go wrong. So, well, we just kind of push it through. We learn, while doing it. And so let's imagine we are in our meeting room, like online meeting room, like on a conference tour that, Tania and I and other people are like, discussing about these things. So first of all, I will be struggling, because I'll be like, hey, come on, people. So we have this participants from around the world. They could be from Australia, from Asia, from America, from Europe. So when should we have the sprints? Like, how can we allow access for everybody?
Well, this actually happened. This were how our meetings were. So we're just like, okay, we've done this in the past. So now the game changed. And one of the things is, in our organizers, we had folks based in Europe, like for example, Cheuk and I are based in the UK. We had folks in America, folks in Australia time zones, and obviously we all wanted our communities and the global community to be involved. So our mentored sprints moved from being a 4 hours event that was meant to be run at PyCon to be a 24-hour long event. because that was the only way we actually found that we could support all of these time zones without us having to be awake at 2 o'clock in the morning sprinting. But it was just not one continuous 24-hour event. We decided to split it in 3 small events across those time zones, so that the folks distributed across Australia, Europe, and America could take the lead and just like rotate the program, rotate the mentors, and make it easier, both on the participants and the organizers. As well as the code of conduct enforcement folks, because we were still adhered to Python and the Python Software Foundation. We always needed to have someone, well, not on site, online, making sure that the code of conduct was observed, that there was someone to take any reports and action as needed.
Yeah, so that's a lot of work, but that's not just the challenge that we are facing. So, like I said before, that people are like, participating probably from their home. Like, it's gonna be very challenging for them to stay focused, and also because we all may have this bad experience online with social media, that people could behave differently. That how can we ensure that this space that we created online is going to be a safe space? And also, how can we make sure that the communication between mentors and mentees is going to be good? And also from the organizers, how can we communicate with all the participants? And so how can we do that?
Yeah, this was probably one of the biggest challenges, because when we've run this event in person, folks have loved it. They love this ability to have mentors sitting next to them, deeping dive into a program, a package that they love and use. So we decided, especially because these sprints were targeted at beginners or folks that have never had opportunity to contribute to open source because reasons. We couldn't just have a sprint as such, like tell people go and choose a project and start coding or documenting or designing straight away. So we decided to use Zoom to have a startup debrief and a workshop, introductory workshop at the beginning of each of the 3 slots. So this was helpful mainly for folks that were not very confident with GitHub or contributing to open source. And for the main sprint, we use Discord, that is a platform for gamers. And the main advantage is that we could actually set voice channels and text channels for each of the projects that were involved. This year, we had 11 different projects, and having the ability to set up individual text channels and voice channels didn't quite give us the same personal interactions that being sat next to a person, but it really, really bridged that gap of just having the code and text. And we actually found that folks were interacting very, very nicely. Whenever someone was struggling, they would just jump on a call and share their screen or do some sort of pair programming using things like VS Code, and I forgot the name of the other tool. So this was a really, really good alternative to try of mimicking that personal interaction.
Yeah, so we love pair programming on Discord, but the other thing is that we want to make sure that this mentorship is delivered effectively, because it's different. Like, people are not in the same room. Like, if I have a question, for example, if I install my Git, there's a problem, I can't install it, I can't tap on my mentor's shoulder and say hey, can you have a look at this? So because they may be first timer that they don't know even know how to install Git and don't know what is an open source software. So how can we help them?
Right. So apart from having mentors or maintainers specific for each of the projects that were involved, we decided to have a 24 hours open beginners help desk. So this was, again, for folks that were confused or dubious about how to get started looking at issues or getting started with GitHub or cloning a repo into their personal computer. And we also had a Git help desk, because I remember when I was getting started contributing to open source, and one of my major fears was messing up somebody else's work. And you always encounter, I still encounter those issues where I have a merge conflict or I have to do a rebasing. So having someone dedicated to help folks with this non-project specific questions was essential. And it also helped our mentors, because they were not overloaded with 50 different questions at the same time. We also had 2 workshops, as I mentioned before, on contributing to open source and an intro to GitHub. And those were optional, but we noticed that most of the folks actually joined that before their sprint slot. And it was very, very beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, so my biggest concern, there's no swags. How can we distribute the swags to actually get people engaged, to make them feel that they have, done something that worth celebrating? What should we do? They may be distracted at home. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was one of our biggest concerns. Last year, we created like little pins and special edition stickers for folks that attended and mentored and took part in the sprints in general. So this year, we decided to have regular check-ins with the mentors, with the participants, making sure that all the guidelines were there, that they had all of the necessary information, they knew how to prepare. We sent probably too many emails with details and reminding them about the time zones and the slots. I think something that was very, very important and people appreciated was creating a channel dedicated to celebrate wins, any kind of wins. Things from I finally managed to get my development environment working to I submitted a PR or I identified this bug. I think someone actually found a quite critical bug in core Python because they were trying to do something else in a project, and that was incredible. They like just being able to see folks celebrating their wins and their mentees' wins was like really wholesome. And also keep track of time zones. Everybody was welcome to be there for the 24 hours. We were not encouraging it. But again, just having housekeeping of, hey folks, this time slot is changing. So now your code of conduct enforcement team is this, and this is the new mentor lead, and these are the new mentors for a certain project, was also really, really important. We have, I think Adafruit, we had them for the 24 hours. They were incredible. They were one of our major supporters, but they had a quite a big chunk of rotating mentors. So we also made sure to keep an eye on the mentors and making sure that they were still okay, because it's quite a big task.
So yeah, like we're not worrying about people getting too engaged, but we worry about people, like, do they have a safe environment to work on? And because we always have the code of conduct for any of the events, but this time, because it's done online, things will change. Like people may behave differently, and also for moderators, how can we enforce the code of conduct could also change, because online there are so many channels, so many chats, and how can we monitor everything all at the same time? And do people have a way to report that to effectively? Is it going to be like, do they feel that they could be protected?
Right. So because it's very, very hard to have someone moderating 3 different tools or 4 different tools at all time, we went for a bot and human moderation approach. That is one of the nice things that you can do in Discord. You can create a bot, or you can have different moderating settings. So you can check for certain words, or if someone is abusing a specific channel, then you can set bans. For example, if someone is sending, I don't know, a lot of messages through a channel, you can mute them for a period of time or kick them out. And because we wanted to keep all of the communication centralized, also just in case there was any kind of code of conduct incident, we decided to disable the Zoom chat, because Zoom is what we were using for general onboarding and the workshops. And we also built a code of conduct reporting command, so people wouldn't have to leave Discord to start a report. And again, this was very, very specific for our event. We had at least one trained code of conduct enforcement person at all times. So if anything happened, we were certain that there was always going to be someone well-trained and capable of dealing with these situations very, very efficiently and promptly.
So how are we going to put everything together to make sure that, all this experience won't go to waste? So
yeah, so because we've been running this sprints and this mentored sprints for a couple of years, and in person at the small conferences, big conferences, as standalone events, we decided to broaden the scope of what mentored sprints actually are. So we decided to go from just being a series of coding sprints to making it a community, a global collaboration, and now the new outcome is a community handbook. Because we've learned a lot, and obviously we've made some mistakes and learned through along the way. And we decided to open source all of these learnings, put them together in a handbook for other folks that either want to run their online sprints or have had to migrate their events from person to online. Also, we had a lot of plans for 2020, and a lot of folks have been reaching out and asking, how do I run a mentor sprint, or can you come run a mentor sprint at my conference for my community? And it would be great to just be traveling around the world, organizing mentor sprints at all the conferences, but that's not scalable. But having a handbook that would help all communities, leaders and organizers run their own version, and also share their experiences and their best practices would be much more beneficial for the wider community. So now we have a handbook there at mentoredsprints.dev. The URL is kind of covered by the DevWorldCon logo, but it's going to be in other slides. So it's still a work in progress, but we already have started collating a lot of our learnings there.
And so who is this for?
Yeah, so this handbook is first for all the organizers, so that you all have your questions answered on how do I run an online sprint, what tools should I look at, what is the timeline, like when do I have to start contacting projects, how do I prepare my mentors, how do I prepare my participants, and also we provide instructions for mentors on how to prepare for the day. What are the kind of issues or the kind of tasks that I could prepare to onboard folks easier, and also for participants, especially for newcomers. Because we don't want to reinvent the wheel, and this project, Mentor Sprints, has always been a community-oriented and community-led project. We are making this handbook a one-stop handbook, completely open source. Everything is CC BY, so folks are free to use, reuse, share. And we really want to start building a global community of mentored sprints or sprints organizers for both online and in-person events when we are able to run in-person events again, hopefully.
Yeah, we will soon. So that's why it's important to get involved and share experience. So this handbook, like Tania said before, the link is actually down there. I hope this time you can see it. And so everybody can use it. Everybody can, try to run a sprint, online or not. So after that, I would really wish people could share the experience by contributing to the handbook, because we can't cover everything. So situation maybe it's slightly different for your sprint. So if you can kind of add some tips that you think could be useful for the next organizer, that would be great. And the source code of this handbook is actually on the GitHub repo there. You can see like that one. So we really want people to contribute, and hopefully people who want to organize a sprint can have a place to turn to. So thank you so much, and here are the links in case you kind of missed that. And also there's our Twitter handle that you're welcome to get in touch and talk with us if you have any questions, if you have further thoughts about it. So thank you so much again for listening to our talk, and also be wanting to get involved. Thank you.
Excellent.